Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how are you doing tonight?
Good. I see you got this nice mic set up. You got the fancy boom mic. You sound it's a much nicer tone on this new mic. Really like it.
This was a problem that needed to be attacked.
It did.
So
It did.
my son, the IT, decided we needed a whole new setup in here. So
Yeah.
we got a new mic and a new preamp or some such.
Well, and readers or listeners, I should say, if you give us some feedback, if you can hear Bruce better after this podcast, just drop us a line on Twitter or something and tell us if you can hear Bruce better. Because people have been saying for years Bruce is a little soft, can't hear him too much.
I did get some kind notes after the last
good.
podcast, so
that's good to hear.
Step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I can hear you better. So, but it might just be my incoming volume. Anyway, Bruce, rancid Christmas lump of coal. 5-2 loss to the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, on a certain level, puck luck played a big part in this game. The Oilers had more grade A shots. What were they? The grade A shots were 15 to 11. And in the first period, they were 8-1 for the Oilers. But Vancouver got the bounces. And in the end, they outplayed the Oilers when it counted. I think that's really the main point. When it counted in the third period, Bruce, the Vancouver Canucks outplayed the Oilers, and that was hard to see, hard to take, honestly. We'll get into that. Any opening thoughts, opening salvos?
Yeah, I have thoughts. Oilers dominated this game for the first 10 to 12 minutes, and then in the last sort of 6 to 8 minutes of the first period, Vancouver started coming on.
Yeah.
And Edmonton started punting. Where if they, on the rare occasions, actually did get full control of the puck in their own zone, they just dumped it out to center, and the next wave of Vancouver guys came on. And Edmonton did get a goal very late in the first period that you think maybe, that's going to, Vancouver, they're in tough. They had a tough home game last night, 65 minutes, 3 big comebacks. They had to go all the way to the shootout. It was a late start. They had to fly out through a snowstorm to get here. They're just going to mail it in. And Vancouver outworked Edmonton in this game is my takeaway, and I'm supremely disappointed by that effort.
Yeah, I really am too, Bruce. It was really hard to see, especially as the third period went along. Vancouver, I thought actually the Oilers, Vancouver looked like such a terrible defensive team in the first period, probably because they were so tired and bamboozled. But I thought, well, this is one defensive team that actually looks worse than the Oilers. And the Oilers, with their high-powered offense in the third period, should have an advantage, should go right through this team. But that wasn't what happened.
Never.
Vancouver cranked it up, kept putting on more pressure. And the Oilers were the team that cracked under the pressure. Very, very disheartening. Very disheartening. Bruce, this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. And because we're so upset, we're so beside ourselves with furiosity, we're going to go with 2 bad things each tonight. All right, what's your good thing, though?
Okay. Well, my initial feeling was, being in the sour state of mind that I am, that I was going to shout out, and I'm still going to, those 2 linesmen, twin brothers from Red Deer, who had to fill in tonight's game because the NHL linesman got caught in the continent-wide travel fiasco. So they had to come up with these emergency linesmen, and they found these twins that did some work in the AHL, the WHL, high-level linesmen, but all of a sudden they're playing in the NHL, their first NHL game together as twins against Vancouver, which seems fitting somehow. But kudos to them. I mean, that's like the emergency backup goalie, except for these are 2 emergency backup linesmen. So that was cool. That aside, my good thing was the goal Edmonton scored very late in the first period to make it 2-0. That really put them in great position for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And it was a a dazzling four-way play, really, where Jay Woodcroft stacked up his first line together for one shift. And in truth, they didn't get a lot done on their own on the two separate lines tonight, but on the one shift they were together, they produced a goal. This is a conundrum. And the goal was a great keep in by Brett Kulak along the left wing boards. And he tapped it down to Leon Draisaitl on the wall. And Leon made a fantastic pass right through the slot across to Hyman on the far side. And then Hyman managed to spin around and pull it back through the slot to McDavid with the wide open net, and he just wrapped it home late in the first. And that, like I say, put Edmonton in great position against a tired opponent, playing their number 3 goalie, might I add, again. And yet, from there, things fell apart. But from that moment, that clearly was the high moment of the night.
Indeed, it was a spectacular goal. I thought with 4 seconds left in the first period like that, I thought it was going to be a backbreaker for Vancouver. It was justice because the Oilers had all kinds of, I mean, their expected goals for the first period was 3 or 4 goals. So they were unlucky not to have at least 2, and then they got that second goal. So that was a huge moment, and you'd think they were going to go on and win the game from there, but not to be. Bruce, my good thing, I thought Darnell Nurse had quite a bounce back game. He's been getting a lot of criticism, including from me and other people. Pretty much everybody, let's be honest, has had something to say. I thought he really simplified his game. He was involved in one nice sequence, which ended up with him getting a break-in shot on net where he almost was able to chip it up over the goalie. I thought he played a very straightforward, simple defensive game, and stayed on his feet, and was probably, I think, the Oilers' best player. That would be my assessment. He was the best player on the ice for the Oilers. He was one of the culprits on Vancouver's 4th goal, but of the 3 culprits, he was by far the least culpable. He was just late to the shooter, kind of moving in from the high slot. So it wasn't a perfect game, but I thought it was a very good game and more typical of Darnell Nurse. I think he, I think things got distorted with all this ice time he was getting. Do you have what did he get tonight? I don't have I can't. My computer crashed and I lost the.
21 minutes and 50 seconds.
There you go. That's right. That's what you got to do, Jay Woodcroft, in terms of handling Darnell Nurse. Forget this. He's not Chris Pronger. He shouldn't play 27, 28 minutes a game. That's not his game. He is an energy player, and he needs to play with energy if he's going to be successful. And he starts to conserve energy, and bad habits formed, in my eyes, because of that. I think that was the main issue. Other people will say it's other things. It's just decision making. You can say that, but I think his decision making can be pretty good. It's just he's got to have that energy to get there, to be on the move, to be sharp, to keep going fast. And I thought he had that tonight. I'd also like to point out Ryan McLeod's return to the lineup. I thought McLeod looked good, and it's a huge moment for the Oilers because McLeod is he's a really promising hockey player who was, he when he got injured in New York, I guess he had a 3-point game that day he got injured. He was just playing well, just coming into his own, as we say with young players. And he's really fast. There was one play where he just blew by a Canucks defender, and I don't think he got a grade A shot off there, but I think it was in the first period. He just absolutely blew around him. He's so fast out there. He's getting increasingly tenacious, and this is a big thing for the Oilers to have him in the lineup on the 3rd or 4th lines. He's a difference maker in that role, and will really help the Oilers.
I thought he looked pretty rusty, but you could see his speed. You could see his his raw, what he has going for him. But he didn't do a whole lot with the puck. But just seeing him out there and skating, he's going to strengthen the team, no doubt.
What was his injury? Oh, it was a
high
ankle sprain. Yeah. Well, he looked recovered from that because he was skating fast. So that's a good sign. Anyway, yeah, I agree, Bruce. He wasn't great out there. I'm not saying he had a good game even, but I thought he had one good moment where he really showed his speed, and that's what I was
Mhm.
hoping to see. Uh, let's go on to the bad things, and what we're going to do is just talk about each goal against, starting with the first one. We'll do them in order. We'll talk about 4 out of the 5 goals, the ones that broke the Oilers' back. Bruce started off the first goal against the Oilers are up 2-0. They have this 2-0 lead, the worst lead in hockey. It's
Two
been
bad
called
things
down.
each. Hey, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, this is shades of what happened in the St. Louis game. Uh, Another recent home game where the Oilers had a 2-goal lead and couldn't hang on. And in that case, they got the 2-goal lead, and within a minute, St. Louis scored to cut the lead back down to 1. And Edmonton just never gave themselves any room to breathe. Well, tonight there was an entire intermission in between after the goal at officially 1955 of the first, and yet within a minute, Vancouver's back within 1, and Edmonton never breathed easy again for the rest of the game. And it was like 10 seconds off the second period faceoff, a grade A chance. That one stayed out. And then 30 seconds after that, kind of a nothing play that developed with 2 or 3 uh, minor defensive mistakes,
Yeah,
but they were really didn't amount to much. This was we had McDavid and Kulak as being beat on the play, but all they got beat for was a grade B shot from the high slot, and I thought Skinner had a good view of it, and yet he with his blocker. He punched the puck straight up into the air. It went like 20 feet. It went way over the crossbar and way up, and it came right down, landed on his back, and bounced right in. And you would say a fluke and bad puck luck and all that, and all of that is true. That said, that's a terrible rebound that has to be dealt with. It has to be delivered somewhere else rather than right back down on top of the goalie. And Skinner, with his blocker, he did not cope with that high shot from outside, and he wound up, you know. Anyway, so you can cry about bad luck, but to me that was bad goaltending. Sorry to say it, but you got to deal with that shot. You got to put it over into the netting. You got to punch it into the corner. There's lots of places to put it. Straight up, not a good place.
well, I do feel like crying a little bit about puck luck on that one though too, because you're right, Bruce. He's got to do better. But geez, how often do you see a rebound like that go way high in the air and then the goalie not catch it at least, not know where it is, and then go in off his back? I mean, geez, it's just like the Oilers should have had by then 3 goals or maybe even more, and puck luck was part of the reason they didn't. And then Vancouver gets that. I should say that the play just 10 seconds into the second period was worse in a lot of ways because it was a breakdown. Kulak Kulak hasn't gotten a lot of criticism from Oilers fans, but according to the way we're looking at the game, breaking down the grade A shots, he has a higher rate, considerably higher rate of mistakes on grade A shots against than any other defenseman on the Oilers. And on that play, it's a Russian. It's one guy, one Canucks player against Kulak and Barry, and the Canuck player kind of uh, cuts across just when he hits the blue line. He kind of cuts over, and Kulak goes with him. Barry's right there, right beside him. He could have just pass him off to Tyson Barry, but Kulak goes with him, and then that leaves it wide open for Ethan Bear to come steaming down the wing and unleash a
Right.
slap shot. Has all the time in the world to unleash it. So this is there's Kulak has had. I'm just going to say he's had some defensive struggles this year, and he made as you say, he made a great play, a great pinch on the first goal. He really did, but his defensive play this year has been lacking, and it was again on that early in the first period there. I'll quickly transition to the second goal against, which I thought was Vancouver's um, best goal. I mean, it was a power play goal. There was some nice passing. There were some nice plays by the Canucks here. I mean, I can't remember who put it into the player in front of the net who scored, but that was a nice pass, and then a quick shot, and then a rebound shot. But there was a couple breakdowns on this play. And you saw this first, Bruce. It was Matthias Janmark. The Oilers kind of had possession of the puck briefly, or looked like they were going to get possession, and Janmark blew the zone. If he hadn't done that, the puck did get punched back to kind of the high slot area.
To the guy
And
he was covering, which was,
yeah,
I
and
think,
if
Quinn
he
Hughes.
hadn't left the zone, and Janmark is a smart hockey player, he was reading the play. Smart hockey players do read the play. He just read it wrong that time, and looking for the breakout bomb. And because of that, Vancouver kept the puck in and made the play. So I think actually Janmark was the most culpable player on that play. Nugent Hopkins lost the battle in the slot. Tyson Barrie lost the battle in the slot, and Kulak was unable to cut out the hard kind of shot pass down deep into the slot. But if Janmark had been there, probably would not have been a goal against. So that was the goal late in the second period that makes it 2-2. If the Oilers would get out of that, just get out of the period again. Get out of the period, and not to be they gave up that goal. Now, just seconds before then, McDavid had gone in on a. Is that when McDavid? Yeah.
Yep.
A minute before then, he had gone in on a near breakaway, a break in, and I I don't know. I don't know. He doesn't, by reputation, he doesn't dive. I couldn't tell. It looked to me like he might have dived at the end, but maybe he got hooked earlier in it. He did get off a shot. How did you see that, Bruce? I saw what looked to me like a dive at the end of it. Like he was just giving up. Like, I'm going to try to get a penalty here out of this because I've already been hooked. Like I've already had my great chance taken away from me by a hook that should have been called. How did you see it?
Well, bearing in mind the Oilers were killing a penalty that was pretty marginal call in the first place. McDavid breaks by. The first Vancouver guy just gave him a little kind of hack in on near the glove, the kind they usually call, as Louis DeBrusk said, but they didn't call it. And then Quinn Hughes was the second guy who was trying to overtake McDavid from behind. And a biased Oiler fan would say he held him, and he didn't do anything that was obviously a foul. And yet at the same time, he interfered with McDavid's progress and took him down. And often a ref will go for that. And this ref was looking right at it, and he was just saying, no, no, no. And McDavid got up pretty sour. And Vancouver went down with their continuing power play from the original lame call and converted it into a goal. So it was kind of a crappy set of circumstances all the way around where, fans who were sour with Mr. Stripes tonight, given Vancouver scored 2 goals after what seemed apparent Vancouver penalties that didn't get called. But that was the first one of those. And it was, I don't know, McDavid, I thought he did a good job. He was on his way down, and he still got a half-decent backhand shot away. But
got a very good shot.
Able to beat future Hall of Famer Colin Delia, who got the better of his team tonight.
The third goal, Bruce, your second bad thing.
Yeah, this was the game winner, David, and this was, to me, just a simple matter of Oilers breaking down in their own zone, not protecting the house, and Vancouver just keeping the zone pressure on, which they had for a lot of the game, and the Oilers not really coping with it very well. And it came out to
the point.
How did we score that? Yeah. It was an outside shot that came through that got through Klim Kostin and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. To me, Brett Kulak, he kind of got sucked out of position, like he was down low, and he moved up and away from his man to front the shot, which then he was unable to deal with. So then Tyson Barrie left his side of the net to take Kulak's man from behind, and that left Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as the lone guy back on the far side of the net. The shot was well wide of the near side post. Skinner overcommitted to it. It bounced off the backboards, and it was a very nifty play by Bo Horvat to collect the rebound and stick it into the net, but he did so by beating Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, not having to beat Tyson Barrie because he's moved to cover Brett Kulak's man, and I would make the case that Kulak also deserves
All right, I'll just.
Uh, uh,
Well, I'm
yeah,
not sure, Bruce.
to me, it's a missed assignment by
Well,
Kulak.
is
Like
it
he
because
was in the
he's?
red light zone.
Yeah, you're right. He was in the red light zone. He wasn't covering a passing lane. He wasn't
The
covering
shooting
the
lane. He was.
shooter. He wasn't doing nothing. Yeah,
It
not the
was.
best from Kulak.
It was just a sort of a team-wide breakdown, and just such an easy goal to give up 2-2
Uh,
game. 10 minutes to go in the
Thinker.
third period. Come on.
Nuge just had to cover that, like lift his stick, of course, and he was a little bit asleep at the wheel. In an otherwise really strong year, Nuge had a bad moment. Tyson Berry lost the battle in the corner to kick it all off. Like he got outworked in the corner,
Okay.
and that's how the puck gets back to the point. Kostin's way back, and so there's a wide open point shot.
Mhm.
Um, and just one bad thing led to another. It was not good. The Oilers, of course, had 7 minutes and 35 seconds, and again, I'm thinking, okay, now they'll wake up. Now this
Never happened.
offensive powerhouse, and it doesn't happen. And instead, what happens is what I thought was the most galling moment of the game, the worst goal of the game. This is the fourth goal from Vancouver, and my second bad thing. So this sequence of pain starts with Klim Kostin going back to pick up the puck in his own zone, and he's there first. It's a fairly simple play, and he tries to make not the simple play, which is to go kind of back into your own zone with it, perhaps. Tries to turn it up the ice, and which is, 3 minutes left, you're down a goal. I understand that. So he tries to turn it up the ice, and he doesn't. He turns it over, and he loses the board battle for the puck. And then Bouchard loses the next battle. And Bouchard just doesn't seem engaged in the play. Like he doesn't seem like he's intense in that moment, and he doesn't react quickly to it. And there's a quick pass out into the slot. He doesn't battle. He doesn't knock anyone on his keister. And this is not a good moment for either Kostin or Bouchard. They both needed to do better in that situation. Nurse was kind of on the other side of the ice, expecting the puck, I think, to come around the boards, which is what NHL players should do. They should be kind of shading away to where it's going to be. So there wasn't any real danger from the play. And then all of a sudden there was, because of two lost battles in a row really fast by, you're not expecting that. So he was late to the shooter, who drove it off the post, McCabe. No, and, I think I wrote in the comments, a save would have been nice. And your response was, so would a too many men penalty have been nice. There was an obvious too many men on the ice call. Just utterly obvious. They should have called it. There was 6 guys in the frame. There might even been another guy that wasn't in the frame. I think there might have been 7 guys on the ice in that moment when they're touching the puck.
Right in front of the bench.
Why wasn't there a call? I mean, that's ridiculous. So that was frustrating. But I'm
game management, Dave. You can't be given a team a power play with 3 minutes left. Even if the other team made a mistake. I don't know. To me, that one seemed fairly clear, but whatever.
Not good. I don't think it was the refs that cost the Oilers.
No, I'm not. Don't want to say I'm blaming the refs. I'm just saying a couple calls went against Edmonton, and they did not cope with what happened. And Edmonton's mistakes in both cases came after the missed call with lousy defense.
Yeah, and the vaunted Edmonton power play, best power play ever against the worst penalty kill of the year ever. Or they. The Oilers they came close to getting it done on the power play. And one of the key moments in the game was when McDavid had a wide open net in the second period, and the goalie, McDavid, couldn't get the puck high enough, and the goalie made the save. Anyway, those are our bad things. It was, I don't know. It's too much a wake-up call. I don't know. The Oilers have had so many. This is just this team this year, Bruce. They're not the 27-18 team that absolutely crumbled after their really good playoff run, but they're just barely hanging in there. And I'm not exactly sure what it is that's going wrong. It seems wrong with this team, but clearly there's something wrong with their defensive structure, their defensive attitude, their defensive intensity, their defensive fundamentals. They just give up goals too easily, and it's constant. I never get the feeling when the Oilers have a lead that they're going to hold that lead responsibly or easily. It's because they just find a way to give up goals. They find a way to let the other team back in the game. It's happened repeatedly this season. Maybe I'll go and count that up, how many times that's happened, but it's getting a little bit frustrating.
Well, this is 3 home games that they've lost where they had a 2-goal lead and weren't able to hang on to the lead. And in 2 of the 3 cases to New Jersey, and again tonight, they came away with nothing. In the third case, where they led 3-1 in the last 10 minutes against St. Louis, they got 1 point. And a 2-goal lead should be at least a point in the bank, but it's not working out that way. And I mean, you got 2 options there: either defend the lead or add to the lead. And the Oilers did neither of those 2 things really in any of those games. They never scored again after having the two-goal lead in any of those 3 games.
Yeah.
And that was part of the problem. But the other part, of course, was that they allowed at least 2 goals into their net to tie it up. And tonight, 5 straight goals.
Any thoughts on what the overall issue is, Bruce? I mean, other than Campbell's goaltending, which has been an obvious issue all year long.
Well, I mean, everybody's raving about Stuart Skinner's goaltending. Well, this is 2 home games in a row where a tired team came in with their number 3 goalie, and he stole the show and ate Skinner's lunch. Like, Delia had a better game than Skinner did tonight.
Sure did.
And for sure, that guy, what the heck was his name? Dostoy? No, what was that guy's name? The other, Eunice, he was another Eunice. I mean, that's how big of an impression he made. That came in when Oilers outshot Anaheim 49-17 and found a way to lose that game. And that guy, that was Lucas Dostal, not Dostoy, close, Dostal. And I mean, who are these guys? So part of the problem is Edmonton snipers aren't sniping. I mean, you got to take advantage of. I mean, do you think that Vancouver defense or that Anaheim defense, the last home game Oilers blew in regulation, is anything decent? Like, that's 2 of the worst defensive teams in the league. I mean, Anaheim literally has the worst goals against average in the league, and Vancouver's 3rd worst.
You lose to Anaheim and Vancouver in the last week. It's just that is not good. That's not even close to good. All right, Bruce, what's your number?
Well, it's kind of related to that last. My number is 9-9-1, which is Edmonton's record on home ice, and it seems like this every year that you think the Oilers' home ice advantage should really mean something. You got the last change. You got these super weapons that you can deploy against the weaker opponents. You got this, this wonderful, steadfast home fans that just absolutely dote on these guys, right? Nobody in the fan base that thinks, anything about the world of these guys. They're totally behind them. I'm jesting a little bit, but I mean, the crowd is behind the team. And that home ice advantage is, traditionally, the home team does have a significant advantage. The Oilers are 9-9-1 at home, 9-6-1 on the road. And, they played 19 home games and they've won less than half of them. And it seems like every year they have something like this. They win the first few, and then they go on an extended drought where they lose practically all of their home games. And I tell you, I was one of the home fans that went off grumbling into the night. Actually, the afternoon. Well, I guess it was night. It was pretty near the winter solstice after the Anaheim game the other day. It was already getting dark. And you got to know, people leaving the barn when your team has blown a 2-goal lead or been beaten by a 3rd-string goalie, or this just in, both has happened tonight. The fans are not leaving very happy for their $70 or $200 or $300 experience. And I don't get it. Like, where is the killer instinct on this team? Like, they came out hard and strong early, and all the talk was, well, they just got to repeat what they did in Dallas the other night, where they beat a good team when they were on the road and at a disadvantage. And they kept up that style of play for 20 minutes, and then they gradually just fell away from the game.
Yeah.
9-9-1.
All right. My number is 9. That is the number of hits from Klim Kostin tonight. Now, I'm not as big. The Kostin is kind of a bit of the latest kind of like folk hero because he says funny things. He's got a good spirit about him. Mm-hmm. He's a big, tough forward. And if he's going to make it in the NHL, it would be with hitting. I'm not as big a fan of his like his actual game as a lot of people are so far. Like I think he's okay, but just okay. He hasn't added much. He really hasn't added a lot if you look at it objectively to the attack. He makes the odd good play, and he's been okay on defense. Nothing great, but there's a chance he can help this team as he gets comfortable in the NHL. If he hits, if he provides physical presence for the Oilers, which they lack especially with Evander Kane coming out, they need to be a team that is tougher to play against. Against Dallas, they came out and they were hitting the snot out of the Dallas Stars. First period, they threw 5, 6, 7 hard body checks, and Kostin was throwing his weight around tonight, and I really like that. I think it's a team needs that from some players. The Oilers, that's one of the missing elements. I mean, how many big hits has Niemelainen thrown this year? I could count him on one. I don't think so. I could count him on one hand, Bruce. I don't think he's been hitting consistently. He's hits, but he hasn't been throwing those big hits. Now maybe that's too much to ask. Maybe he'd be getting himself out of position, and he's just trying to keep it simple at this point.
I think that's the thing.
Fair enough.
Take the hits when they're there. He really hammered one guy tonight, but Kostin hammered about 4 guys tonight.
Yeah, Niemelainen's been playing better actually since his latest call up. Like he's playing better hockey, so I'm not complaining about him. But he hasn't been like when he came up last year was kind of a revelation. Like wow, this is what the team's been missing is this guy who really hits hard. Anyway, the Oilers do need that. They used to have it a little bit now and then with Kassian, not so much in the last years of Kassian's career. Kostin, if he can provide this, even when Kane comes back, I mean, he might have a place in the lineup if there's no other injuries. And I've liked them so far with Nugent Hopkins and Janmark, who I think are 2 very smart hockey players. I liked what I heard tonight that he's asking Hyman and Draisaitl how to puck protect, and might learn from them. I mean, a lot of that is also just physical training, like building up your base, building up your strength, building up your skating. You have to have the physical attributes to be able to do that. Kostin might, and he might, also pick up some hockey tricks, hockey technique in order to do that better. But he made a really nice play against Dallas, obviously setting up Janmark's goal, and he threw the 9 hits tonight. Keep the hits coming, and he may stay in the lineup.
Yeah, I enjoyed his game for first 45 minutes. He had, he did a lot of physicality. He was the one Oiler who actually broke through and had a decent shot on net in the third period.
Yeah,
on his own play, power move inside and hard shot that forced a good save. And that was the only grade A shot that Oilers had until the goalie was out. Nuge had one very late when it was 4-2. But they didn't generate a lot. But Kostin at least did have that one play. Alas, he was part of the defensive ineptitude on both the third and fourth goals.
Allowing
so at the end of the night,
he's not.
And I have to grade this guy. I have, I got a couple of big glaring minuses and a whole lot of little pluses. So there's lots about his game I liked, but
3 or a 4, I guess, probably a 4.
Oh, yeah, even a 5, but he's not going to get a plus grade because, the defensive stuff just was too costly.
Yeah. All right, Bruce. Well, we're at the Christmas break. We're off for a while. And the Oilers have 18 wins and 17 losses. When Jack Michaels was talking about it, or like before the game, he was framing it. Well, if the Oilers win this one, there'll be 5 games above 500. Like, no, those losses in overtime and shootouts, they are losses. They're not like non-losses. You get a point, but they're actually called a shootout loss or an overtime loss. There is an L attached to them. The Oilers wouldn't have been 5 games over 500 if they had won tonight. They would have been 2. They are now 18 wins and 17 losses. That's this year's Edmonton Oilers, not this other team that, has a big advantage in terms of 1 losses. And the Canucks have, I think, 15 wins and 18 losses. They're not 500 either. So this framing of it that a team that is has equal points to the games played is not a 500 hockey team.
Well, you could argue technically they got 50% of the available points, but the
In terms of their won losses, they're not.
But the thing is that 500 is not even a contending record. You have
That's
to
right.
be at least 550 in
That's
the
right.
Bettman era NHL to be average, because they give out all these extra points left and right. Like Calgary and LA last night, for instance. LA had a 2-goal lead, blew it, won it in overtime, still got their 2 points, plus Calgary got 1. That seems fair. Anyway, I'm very sour about all the 3-point games on the out-of-town scoreboard, as always, but we've talked about that plenty recently. But you're right. I mean, 18 and 17. They won 1 out of their last 5 games. And since they were on their latest little roll, and they're I mean, this is supposedly the soft part of the schedule that they've been waiting for, right? And the only team they beat in those 5 games was the only team that was above them in the standings, and they lost 4 games to teams that were below them. And Vancouver now, with 2 games in hand, 5 points back, they win those 2 games in hand, and they're right there. So,
yeah, it's an interesting season for the Oilers. It's obviously disappointing, and I was expecting better. I think most fans were expecting better.
Yep.
And we've yet to see it. We're not seeing it. So, yeah, bring back Duncan Keith.
Bring back Mike Smith.
Bring back Mike Smith, who we wanted to send to the minors. Everyone in oil country wanted to send to the minors in late March last year, early April. But then
everybody hated him because he yelled at the defenseman when they score. So what happens now? They score and we all yell at the defenseman. I'm not quite sure what's different about that. Kind of.
All righty. Well, hopefully, Bruce, in the new year, things will turn around. This team can turn it around, I still think. Some players are going to have to step up and play a little bit better, but they're capable of doing so. And hopefully they'll enjoy good health, and Jack Campbell will have a little bit of a rebound in the new year as well. So it's the Christmas break, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight, and Merry Christmas to you, and Merry Christmas to you, every Cult of Hockey, to the faithful.
That's right. Instead of going grumbling into the night, we can go grumbling right into the holidays after that one. Anyway, I will echo your sentiments, and that is the season to put hockey away for a while and enjoy some of the other good things in life. And to you and yours, everybody listening, have a very happy, enjoyable holiday season, and we'll be back in saddle next game at Calgary.
Oh boy. I just want to add one thing. I really enjoyed. I thought that the Christmas greetings, or the holiday season greetings from all of the Oilers in their different languages was wonderful. That was a brilliant little thing that they did. It was very interesting. It just hit home what an international game hockey has become from its Canadian roots. It's traveled across the world. Many people from around the world play it. They play the game very, very well, and it was just nice to hear them speaking in their own languages. Wishing everyone the holiday best. Bruce, in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.